Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome back to Strike Zone with St. Paul Saints Manager George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul manager questions about the Saints, baseball or sports in general, or just seek George's wisdom about life events that may be going on. In this week's episode, we have an exciting program for you as George shares his NFL playoff predictions for this weekend. He talks with us about his excitement about his beloved Minnesota Vikings, and a fan sees if he can talk George into becoming a basketball fan. There's a lot more to go in the show, so let's get right to Strike Zone. Let's welcome back the very happy manager, George Tsamis. Before we get into our Minnesota Vikings part, George, do you have any team updates you'd like to give us?
Hey, how are you? Happy New Year to everyone. And no, nothing with our team. No, we've had no signings over the last week or so, but working on it, and hopefully next week when we talk, we can have some good news for you.
Heading into our exciting Minnesota Viking update, why don't you give us your take on last night's game?
Yeah, that was they played well. That as usual. How many times have you heard me say how nasty the defense is? But they were nasty again, and it was a nice win. It got a little scary there at the end, and even when that Hail Mary left Hunter's hand there at the end, it was a little scary. But they played good, and congratulations to them, and they did a great job. And they're the division champs, and even better, they get to host a playoff game. So it was a great season for them.
Well, we had a lot of people that wrote in asking for your predictions about games. So we just kind of lumped them together to start out here at the show. So beginning with the Kansas City-Houston game, who do you see winning that game?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Our pitching coach, Kerry Leitenberg, loves the Chiefs. It's his team. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs just because of that reason, but that doesn't mean I'm right. It's a tough one, but they've been playing pretty good, winning 10 in a row.
Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals?
I would like to see the Steelers win, but that's going to be a tough matchup going into Cincinnati. I don't know if Dalton's playing, but that Cincinnati defense is pretty good too, and they have a real good team, and their wide receiver A.J. Green. I mean, you don't hear about him being one of the best, but that is one outstanding receiver. So Cincinnati's pretty good. I want Pittsburgh to win, but I'm not so sure if that's going to happen.
An interesting matchup of colors in green versus brown as the top receivers there. So,
absolutely.
Seattle Seahawks are the Seahawks in the Viking game.
This is a tough one. I think everybody's saying Seattle's going to win, but not me. The Vikings are at home. The Seahawks came in and they're playing great. They're playing as good as anybody, and they are favored. But you know what? The Vikings are a real good team, and they're playing at home. It's going to be, 15 degrees? So you know what? We're going with the Vikings.
Okay, and the Packers and the Redskins.
I would like to see you would like to see the Packers. They've been a fun team over the years to watch. Just this year, they've been so up and down. You just don't know what team's going to show up, and the Redskins are hot. I guess it depends how Kirk Cousins plays. I think the Redskins are going to pull this one out. Okay, well, there you are. Everybody can start gambling. All right. Yeah, no, don't do that. I do the opposite of what I say, and then you win. But there are some tough matchups, though. You know, I mean, all of those games they're tough matchups. So who knows what's going to happen?
Heading into our fan questions, our first one is from Ken from St. Paul, who'd like to know: do you ever attend spring training sites for the major leagues to see what teams are doing or gauge what players may be released? Yeah, I have in the past. There's been times that I have gone down there, and you check out some major league games once in a while. And but the minor league games, you really don't even know who's going to be released. So it's kind of tough to go there and check out a player when you really don't know what they're going to do. And when you do go to those, you try to see players that you've had play for you in the past. You try to check them out, but and really scouting those players in spring training, you really don't know who's on the bubble, who's going to get released. So it's tough to. It's tough to check out a certain player because you don't know what's going to happen with them. Kevin Hooper had talked about that there was a new independent winter league that was formed in Florida. Did you get to see any of that at all? No, I did not. And there's a few of them all over, and there's one in Florida, California, Arizona, and it's tough to you can go see a guy throwing 93 miles per hour, but then there's times, you do that and say he looked good, and you look up what he's done in the past, and times they're okay, and times they've had a rough time. So
you know, it's tough when you just go see a guy for a few days. You kind of look at what they've done in the past.
Derek from Minneapolis would like to know from you, how do you personally like having a salary cap in the league?
You know, I think it's good. You know, I mean, I wish we can have a. It is tough to fit everybody under the cap, and especially when we had a bunch of guys that are coming off good seasons, and when those guys have good years, obviously they want more money and they deserve to get more money, and but it is tough to fit everyone, and you know, we have a great league, and I think it could be even better, and I just, you know, do a little more and raise that salary cap some.
Are you able to be benefited, I just kind of thought of this, by if a player, let's say, goes to affiliate spring training and they're released, are they paid a portion of that salary, so at least they're not coming to the Saints and expecting that that's the only salary that they're going to receive?
No, I think it's each person's, you know, each player's contract they sign. You know, I think in the big league level, obviously they have all the buyouts and stuff. In the minors, I don't think so, and they don't get paid for spring training either. So it's you know, a player can go to spring training with thinking he's making this, but they don't get paid in spring training. And if they don't make a team, they're just free agents and they just start all over again.
Wow, I hadn't really thought about that.
Tough. Yeah, it is a tough thing, but it's every player's dream to get to the big leagues and go to spring training and try to make a team out of it, and it works out. There's times it doesn't work out.
Stan from St. Paul asks, how do you see your rotation going with Crenshaw, Coe, Snead, and Shields all back? Who do you expect to be your number one guy?
You know what? Not really sure how that's going to play out. But once the season starts, you know, then that'll determine who's going to be the number one throughout the year. But we have signed Coe back, and Crenshaw, Snead, and Pedro Hernandez are all down in winter ball pitching, and Crenshaw and Kramer are doing real well too. So who knows if we would, you know, see either one of them back? You know, if somebody gives them a shot with a, you know, major league organization or even a job in Mexico. So we're not sure what's going to happen, and obviously there'll be a lot of good guys released out of spring training that we'll have to take a look at.
So really, Robert Coe is the only person you officially have on the team at the moment.
Yeah, currently Robert Coe is the only one, and Crenshaw and Snead, you know, they both indicated that they would like to return, you know, but if they get a job with an organization or even in Mexico, you know, there's a lot more money in Mexico, something they're going to have to consider. So we'll just see how this plays out over the next couple of months. Kyle
from St. Louis Park asked, George, how did it feel to be drafted, and what was your expectations when you were?
You know, every kid when you're growing up, it's your goal, you know, a major league player, and you got drafted a couple times, and you know, the second time by the Twins in the 15th round was a great thing, and but once you get drafted and you go into the minors, you realize that I think I've told you this before, that you know, there's a lot of great players coming up in the minors, and you know, like I said, you may have been the best player on your team, you know, in little league, high school, college, but once you get, you know, into professional baseball, there's always somebody better, and it's a tough path to the big leagues, and but to get the chance, it's a great feeling, and you wish everybody could experience the chance of getting to the big leagues.
Lee from Woodbury asks, what inspired you to want to get into managing?
Well, again, I love playing, love baseball, love the game, and towards the end of my career, when I realized I wasn't a very good pitcher anymore, I had some injuries too, and like a couple of shoulder surgeries, and you realize maybe it's time to move on and get into something else, and became a pitching coach, and and then got the chance to manage, and so it's just something that I've always wanted to stay in baseball, and it's something I've always enjoyed doing, and now I'm lucky enough to be the manager of the Saints for about 13 years and 14 years, and I'm very fortunate to be in this spot, and hope I can be there for a lot longer.
Craig from Minneapolis. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped Twins fan. Twins fan asked, do you see the Kansas City Royals dropping off enough, or the Minnesota Twins improving enough to take the AL Central next season?
You know, I think it's, you know, been shown over and over. You just never know what's going to happen, and you know, the Royals will be good like they have in the last 2 years, and you know what? the Twins, they have some good young guys coming up, and I don't think after what we've seen over the last couple of years, even with the Mets in the World Series, I don't think we can be surprised if the Twins can catch them and get a chance to win that division. And again, the Twins did improve last year, and they played good there right to the end.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people had pretty much handed the NL East to Washington, and then all of a sudden the Mets come out of nowhere. So the Twins could easily be in that kind of situation.
Know what? Yeah, I don't think there's one person out there that predicted the Mets were gonna get it done. It was Washington this, Washington that. So you just don't know.
Absolutely. Now heading to Craig from Minneapolis, don't you think it would have been best if the Vikings had lost to Green Bay and played the Packers again this weekend instead of facing the Seahawks?
You know what? Their goal is to win the Super Bowl. You're going to have to play good teams to get there, and playing in Green Bay is tough. But you know what? Absolutely not. You want to win the division. You want to host a playoff game, and who knows? The Seahawks are playing great, and they may be the hottest team, but you want to beat the best, and I think it's a great matchup, and it is going to be a tough one, but my teams are at home, they can get it done.
Luke from Brainerd would like to know from you, what's the George Tsamis top 5 heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, it's tough. In the AFC, you just don't know. We always thought New England was going to be, just walk through everybody, but the last 2 weeks that's changed. So in the AFC, who knows? NFC, you have to get to Carolina. They're the best team right now, and you thought Arizona was right there with them, but then you saw what happened yesterday. I don't know if I have a top 5. I would say a top 5 for the MVP. I know we've talked about that in the past. Cam Newton should be the MVP of the league. I guess you'd probably agree with that, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And after that, number 2, he is just unbelievable. Doesn't matter who his quarterback is, he makes plays, and Cam Newton, Antonio Brown, and then after that, you can put Brady, Carson Palmer, and Russell Wilson, after those two. But again, it's too bad that Antonio Brown would never win it, but he is one valuable player.
Well, I completely agree. I mean, considering the fact the team played 3 different quarterbacks and he still caught 1,400 and something yards is amazing.
He is something else. He is something else to watch.
Adam from Hastings asks of you, why does anyone give that Johnny Manziel a shot? This guy is such an idiot, don't you think?
You read all the things and you hear the things and you don't know what's true and what's not, but obviously there's been some, bad stories about him, and it's maybe running out of chances, so hopefully he can figure it out. Again, you just don't know. You just can't believe everything you read or hear, but it seems like more and more that stuff you hear about him has become true, and it's just, you just hope he can figure it out and doesn't blow his career away.
Have you ever been on a team, with the Twins or whoever, where there was a guy who just seemed to be a distraction to the team like that just, you just never knew whether he was with you guys or not?
Yeah, absolutely. When I played and when I coached and managed, I don't want to say there's always somebody, but over the years there have been some guys that are just blowing it. It's like they're just happy to have a uniform on, and they're very talented and have a chance to get to the top, and it seems like they settle to have a uniform on and instead of being the best players they can be. It's disappointing sometimes when you see it, but I've definitely seen it.
How does it work as a player when you have that kind of situation and you see a guy that's just, kind of a distraction? How do you cope with that?
At times you try to talk to him. There's times you just try to let it go, and I don't know. It's just some guys are coachable. There's a lot of players that are very coachable and they're open to ideas, but some guys don't want to hear anything. They have all the answers, and as a player or even as a manager, you try to talk to players, and sometimes it works, and sometimes they don't want to hear anything. It's too bad that they're blowing it.
Frank the New Yorker frustratingly asks, can you believe that pass that Tompkins dropped for the Jets? How does a guy drop that with so much on the line?
Yeah, that would have been something I think could have hung on to it, but it was I mean, he did get hit after the ball hit his hands, and it would have been a great play and a great way to win it, but maybe it was a little bit tougher than we think just to see it. He did get hit after, ball was in his hands.
Well, none of us are in the situation to get drilled by some cornerback in that spot. So
exactly. Yep.
Trent from Victoria asks, Pittsburgh just got in, but they sure look dangerous. Could you see them going all the way?
Yeah, you know what? And we said all year long how nice it would be for them to get in. They're an exciting, dangerous team, and the last 2 weeks they haven't looked great though. And now D'Angelo Williams got hurt too, so you wonder what's going to happen. And they have a tough matchup in Cincinnati, but with their quarterback and their receivers and Antonio Brown, they have a chance against anybody. If they lost this week, I wouldn't be surprised. If they won the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be surprised. They're just a talented, real good team.
And great coaching on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? With Tomlin, I like Tomlin. Tomlin takes chances, and I like that he doesn't just kick the extra point. He goes for two. I like that he goes for it on fourth down. And even McCarthy last night, in the Packers game, going for it on fourth down. I like guys to take chances like that. And times it pays off. So I think it's good to have a head coach and chances like that.
Absolutely. Charles from Richfield would like to know from you, with the Cowboys being so pathetic the last 2 decades, who do you see as America's team now?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Cowboys are popular, and again, they just haven't got it done lately. And the Patriots are obviously always so good, but I don't think they're very likable by too many people across the country. And Seattle's been in the last 2 Super Bowls, but I don't think they're very likable either. That's a team that you can, enjoy, to see them lose, to be happy when they lose. But I think the Steelers are a team that they have a good following and they're pretty popular. And so I would have to say them.
Bill from Chicago would like to know from you. Bill Belichick thought that Chip Kelly did not get him enough of a chance with the Eagles. What do you think?
It seemed like from day one this year that it seemed like there were problems, and that's always, it's not good when you hear that all year long. So, you've been hearing that with him, like with Pagano with the Colts. Who knows what's going to happen with him? But you hear the players going to bat for him, and they want him to stay, and they hope they keep him. And so I think it's different. With Kelly, you hear the negative stuff, and who knows what's really going on. But with Pagano, players are going to bat for him, want him to stay.
Ben from St. Paul would like to know from you, how critical do you think it is that the Patriots did not get home field advantage throughout the playoffs?
Yeah, that is something what's happened the last 2 weeks. They were just cruising, right, from maybe going undefeated to home field advantage, and now it's gone. And I don't know. I think yesterday, too, watching the game, it seemed like they were just trying to stay healthy. And I guess Brady has an ankle injury, and who knows what's going to happen. But I think it's a blow, losing the home field, and Denver will be tough at home.
I think they said that they rested 12 or 13 guys from their starters yesterday, too. So,
yeah, and you know what? I watched the game, too, and it seemed like the whole first half they were running most of the time, and like they were just trying to keep their guys healthy. And but I wonder if it'll come back to bite them.
Mike from St. Paul would like to know from you. Tom Coughlin won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, and he is out as their coach. Is any coach safe nowadays?
That's a good one too. I'm not sure. He's been a great coach, for a long time, and it seems like from what I heard today that he decided to walk away. So, which is good to hear, and hopefully that's the truth. And it did lose. They had 5-6 horrible losses in the final 2 minutes of the game. So, losing like that, maybe that just took him away, because there have been some tough, painful losses for the Giants, but he's been a great coach for a long time.
Cedric from Mounds View would like to know from you. There's a lot of talk about Nick Saban coming back to the pros. Do you think that would be a bad move for him?
You know, he had his one stint, right, with the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, shortly. I think 2 years or something.
Yeah, he's been a great college coach, and who knows? Maybe if he wins again, you know, next week, maybe he wants to get back to the professional ranks. Who knows? And I'm sure there'll be a lot of teams that would love to have him. So he's another guy like Belichick. He's all business, wants to get it done, and has been very successful. And maybe you need a few more guys like those two guys.
Randy from Minneapolis asked, how did your fantasy football team do? And he wanted to point out that his finished in last. So how well did your team do?
You know what? Mine did, I'm right there with you. I did not do good, and it was a frustrating year, and but I enjoyed doing it. And it's fun every week to sit there and watch the games and go through it, but I had a lousy year, just like a lot of us did. A lot of us back home listening, or we had lousy years as well.
Well, there were so many key injuries early on, you know, with Luck and Romo not playing and Des Bryant being out and stuff. That really hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, you just don't know week to week. Everything can happen.
Heading out of the NFL, Trey from Anoka would like to know, George, what is it going to take to turn you into a basketball fan?
I don't think it's going to happen. Just can't get into it. And, so I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to happen.
Our next question comes from Saints fan who says, George, love the show, but you need a better host. Just saying.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Do you have me?
Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm sorry, I lost you there for a second.
Okay, so we'll ask that one again. Our next question comes from Saints fan who asks, George, love the show, but you need a better host. Just saying.
If you say so, maybe, there's times. No, Robert does a real good job. He's good. He's good to work with, and so we'll keep this going hopefully for a long time. He does a real good job.
Maybe we get Sean to replace me. He's better anyway. So
yeah, I do my interviews with Sean too. So we've been together for a long time too. So it's good to hear from somebody else. It's all good.
Our last question this week is from Kendra, who asks, if you could be a rock star for one day, who would you want to be and why?
For a long time, I've always been an AC/DC fan, and it's going to stay that way. Love them, and so not that I can sing or anything like that, but I loved AC/DC is the way to go, and I love listening to them. So I never get sick of them, and they've been around for a long time.
Can you do the Angus Young headbanging thing?
Yeah, I could, but I won't. But I could, and I definitely sing like them. And it's just so many good songs, from 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and they're still going. And I guess they're coming to St. Paul on February 14th. That's all. So
I might have to go to that.
It would be neat if I'm there to see it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I might have to go to that myself. I've always been a big fan.
There you go. Yeah, who doesn't like them? It's awesome. They're just awesome to hear.
It's kind of disappointing when people try to ruin them. Like MTV a long time ago did the 100 least rock things of all time, and number one was Celine Dion singing "You Shook Me All Night Long" and then playing air guitar while she was singing it. I thought, no, that's just wrong.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't see that. I'm glad I didn't see that. So I'm good with them doing it. It's again, really enjoy listening to them, and I'm sure a lot of people would just think it's a bunch of screaming, but they have their way, and they're excellent.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us this week, George. We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, please send them to us at AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give the coach a little bit of time to review them before we record the show on Monday. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we look forward to seeing you all year long on Strike Zone.